Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm just going to share with you guys a team that's been working really well for me in the Sunshine Cup, and I ran this team two different ways. The first team that I ran is going to be Abomasnow lead with Shadow Quagsire on the safe swap and Swampert in the back. And then today I switched this team up and I ran in place of Swampert. I ran the Diggersby and it worked so much more consistently for me. So I do recommend the version of this team with Diggersby. However, I have battles from both of them to share with you guys, and I've been using this team over the past couple of days, so I've gotten to know which one's like really working really well and which one I was struggling with. And I can tell you guys right now, I was struggling a little more with Swampert. I do get a 5-0 in the beginning of this video, and then I kept using it yesterday, and I found out where I was struggling most. Because I was using Quagsire as a safe swap, if I draw out a grass type with Quagsire, usually it's not going to do much against it. But in the second team, when I used Diggersby as a safe swap, first of all, Diggersby is much bulkier than Quagsire and Swampert, and it adds that really nice bulk to the team. And second, it has access to that fire punch that it can spam out. So if you draw a grass type out, it's not the worst, and Diggersby should also be able to survive most of the grass type moves. So it can survive a Frenzy Plant, it can survive a Seed Bomb. On the other hand, Quagsire and Swampert are going to be quadruple weak to grass type moves, which is why I liked the Diggersby a lot more. It does make the team slightly weak to Talonflame. However, I don't mind swapping Diggersby into a Talonflame because of how bulky it is. It is going to put up a really decent fight versus Talonflame. And going straight Scorching Sands, if you get an attack debuff, even better. You might be able to actually win the matchup against Talonflame. Also, something else I was struggling against is a lot of people were swapping Dunsparce into Abomasnow if they lost the lead. So I would bring in Quagsire, and Quagsire wouldn't always win the matchup against a Dunsparce. I didn't want to shield my Quagsire. My Quagsire would be able to live 2 drill runs, but then if they decide to shield my next move, then they would be able to farm me down with the rollouts if I don't invest any shields into Quagsire, and then usually they will have like a better answer to Abomasnow in the back, and they would be able to align that to my Abomasnow. So Diggersby ended up being a much better answer to those Dunsparce safe swaps. And as for the second team, I'm kind of disappointed in myself because today I went 4-1 with the team and I got back up to the 2700s. If you guys will notice at the beginning of this video, my elo is a little bit low. I did drop a bit. I was trying a few different teams in Galar Cup and nothing was working for me, so I ended up dropping quite a few points. But we were able to get ourselves back up into the 2700s today with the Abomasnow, Quagsire, and Diggersby team. I don't have the 4-1 recorded though, so I'm really angry at myself that I didn't record that set because it was a really good set. And by the time I had played those games, I had learned how to play the team really well, and I stopped making a lot of the stupid mistakes I was making in my earlier games. Unfortunately for today's video, I just have my earlier games to show you guys, so I do make quite a few mistakes, but I end up learning from them, and that is why I did really well in the last set that I had to play for today. And I am going to continue to use this team because I think we can climb with it. That being said, I also think that this team is very easy to use. The strategy used for this team is very beginner friendly. Not necessarily the Pokemon, because I understand that Swampert and Quagsire both require legacy moves, and then you have Diggersby in the next team, which is going to require XLs. So the Pokemon aren't necessarily beginner friendly, but the strategy is very simple. You have Abomasnow on the lead. You lose any lead you lose, like to a fire type. You just swap into your safe swap. On the first team, it is Quagsire, and on the second team, it is Diggersby, and you draw out, in most cases, you will draw out a grass type. And a couple more recommendations I have before I get into the battles is, first, run an Abomasnow with high attack so that you win CMP, because your backline is quite weak to Abomasnow, so you need your Abomasnow to take care of opposing Abomasnows. In most cases, opponents are going to have that Abomasnow on the lead, so you need your Abomasnow to win CMP tie. So just run it with high attack. Also, a non-Shadow Abomasnow will work in this case. Now, as for replacements for Diggersby, I would recommend in place of Diggersby, you can run Gastrodon, and Gastrodon is going to be very beginner friendly. And then you can also run Shadow Flygon. I've seen a lot of people run Shadow Flygon with Abomasnow on the lead. It works really well as well. So, that being said, let's get into the battles. I have a lot for you guys today. I already spoke through most of the battles of this first set, which is the 5-0 by the way, but in this game, we're up against a Wigglytuff on the lead, and my opponent swaps into a Dunsparce immediately. I'm gonna bring in Quagsire, and this is where I said it gets a little bit tricky against Dunsparce because 2 Aqua Tails is not gonna be enough to take it out, so you have to go for a Stone Edge on the first move and hope that your opponent doesn't shield it, which they don't in this case. We're lucky. And also you have to hope that you can let 2 drill runs go and that your opponent will let your second move go. Otherwise, if they shield your second move, they will be able to roll out you down. If my opponent had shielded, they would have been able to farm my Quagsire down, and then they would have had this Talonflame aligned to our Abomasnow. I'm gonna have Swampert aligned to their Talonflame, and it's gonna get super close, but I'm able to reach a 3rd Hydro Cannon, take the Talonflame out, and now I have a shield left for my Abomasnow, and I have a lot of energy. I'm just gonna go for 2 Weather Balls to take this Wigglytuff out. They live with a sliver of HP, but it's fine. We still have that shield. We're able to Powder Snow them down and take that win. And that is going to be a 5-0 in that first set. I know if I was doing so well with this team, why do I end up switching it? The short answer is, like I said at the beginning of the video, I needed a better save swap. I needed a better answer for Licky and Dunsparce, and I just needed something that was going to be bulkier. Now moving on to the next battle, we're going to be up against another Wigglytuff on the lead. Again, they swap into Dunsparce, and I bring out my Quagsire. I'm going to go for that Stone Edge on the first move. Hopefully they don't shield. They don't. Usually they will not shield your first move. Now I'm gonna let the next drill run go as well. Go for an Aqua Tail, and hopefully they don't shield this also. They don't, they let it go, thank goodness. Okay, same team again. They have that Talonflame in the back. I'm gonna bring in Swampert immediately and start going for these Hydro Cannons. And like in the last game, I should be able to reach 3 Hydro Cannons, 2 to take both of my opponent's shields, and then the 3rd one should land and take the Talonflame out. I just have to watch out for a potential catch on Wigglytuff. I'm going to go ahead and use my 2nd shield here, and my opponent swaps into Wigglytuff. I'm going to bring in Abomasnow, and okay, I do not want them to get an Incinerate off on my Abomasnow because they can actually get to another fly on Talonflame. So if the next charm hadn't KO'd, I would have stopped tapping, but it does KO. We're able to come in with Swampert, farm them down, and have a Hydro Cannon ready for their Talonflame, and my opponent goes ahead and top left. Moving on to the next battle, I am going to play this so poorly. We get an okay lead of Quagsire, but instead of building up to the Energy Ball, I just go for a Weather Ball, and then I try to catch a Stone Edge on my Quagsire, and of course my opponent goes for an Aqua Tail bait, otherwise they would have lost the Abomasnow matchup. But I swap into Quagsire and my opponent brings out a Superior, and this is why I decided that Diggersby would have been a lot better. I can't let them reach another Aerial Ace, so I go for a Weather Ball, and my opponent actually shields their Superior, and they also have a move ready on Quagsire to go. They could have gone for a Stone Edge, but they go for an Aqua Tail, and then I swap into my Swampert, and like, now what am I gonna do? Their Superior is still very healthy. I'm not gonna be able to do anything against it. Even if I go for a Hydro Cannon, I think they will go ahead and shield it just to take my Swampert out. I'm gonna go for a Hydro Cannon. Let's see what my opponent does. They let it go, and their final Pokemon is a Gastrodon. They're just going to be able to Mud Slap my the 2 Pokemon that I have remaining down. So I'm going to go ahead and top left. GG's to my opponent. I played that so poorly. Actually, even if I played that well, what was my backline going to do against that Grass type? Nothing. Anyways, moving on to the next battle, we're going to get another Quagsire on the lead. This time it is Shadow, and my opponent swaps out into a Dunsparce. Okay. I do not necessarily need to win lead here, and I want to save shields because a Stone Edge from Quagsire is going to be very deadly for my Abomasnow. See, this is the case where my opponent actually shields their Dunsparce. I am going to be able to reach another Aqua Tail here. Let's see if they let it go. They don't. Okay, they double shield Dunsparce. I'm going to bring in Swampert and I'm going to go for a full farm down. My opponent is only going to be able to reach one Drill Run. I'm going to let it go, and with the energy that I have, I should be able to go for 2 Hydro Cannons on this Quagsire. It will be enough to take them out, but my opponent is going to go ahead and top left before we see what their final Pokemon is. I'm going to guess the last Pokemon was a Fire type, so Swampert would have been able to reach another Hydro Cannon. Now, in this next battle, we're going to be up against a Shadow Girafarig. I believe 1 Weather Ball is enough to take this out. This thing is very squishy, so my opponent goes ahead and shields. I'm going to shield the Psychic Fangs because I need to draw a Grass type out. I haven't drawn a Grass type out yet, so I swap into Quagsire. My opponent is staying in. I'm able to reach an Aqua Tail before my opponent can get to another Psychic Fangs. We take their final shield, and then I let the Psychic Fangs go, really hoping I can survive it. But we do survive, and then my opponent brings in a Furfrou. Okay, I remember that this thing has access to like Surf and a Grass type move, so I'm gonna let whatever they're going to throw go. It is a Surf, and we survive. We reach another Weather Ball, and then I swap immediately into Swampert. That way I can get to the Hydro Cannon before my opponent's Girafarig can reach a move. And their final Pokemon is a Shadow Flygon. I was going to be able to reach that Hydro Cannon, and I think I would have taken the win there. So my opponent goes ahead and top left. Okay, moving on to the next battle. I remember this match. There's probably a few things I could have done differently to win this, but we get an amazing lead of Flygon, and my opponent immediately swaps into Talonflame. I'm gonna have to go for a Stone Edge because I was worried an Aqua Tail wouldn't have been enough to take them out. But here's a problem. I invested a shield in that matchup, and then they bring that Flygon back in, and my opponent's final Pokemon is a Typhlosion. If I had 2 shields, I could have won this, but a Blast Burn is gonna be enough to take my Swampert out. Also, I make a huge mistake here, but I should have just gone for the 2 Hydro Cannons, gotten both of my opponent's shields out of the way, and then Abomasnow would have been able to reach a Weather Ball on this Typhlosion, and I would have been able to win this. So it was a really stupid mistake for me not to throw anything on the Typhlosion from my Swampert. I should have just taken their shields out of the way and then gone for a move from Abomasnow. But oh well, my opponent is going to win that, and that is going to be a 3-2 in that set. All right, now we're going to move on to the battles with Diggersby, and you guys are going to see a huge improvement, I think. And these battles are from the next day, which is today morning for me, but I don't know when you guys are watching this video. But anyways, we get a Dunsparce on the lead in the first game, and then my opponent, well, I swap into Diggersby and we draw a Sceptile out, and you can see that matchup was a lot more comfortable for my Diggersby, and I was able to take the Sceptile out with Diggersby. They didn't invest any shields, and my opponent's final Pokemon is a Credilly. Okay, this is gonna get a little bit tricky, because Credilly has access to Rock Slide, which is going to be super effective against Abomasnow, and Dunsparce also has access to that Rock Slide. I'm going to have to take care of this Dunsparce with my Quagsire. Going to go for this Aqua Tail. We take a shield from my opponent, and then my opponent swaps into that Credilly. I'm saving my final shield for my Abomasnow. I know that Abomasnow can take 1 Rock Slide from Dunsparce. I'm going to shield the Rock Slide from Credilly. My opponent doesn't have any shields left. I farm up as much as I can, take the Credilly out, and then I should be able to go for a Weather Ball against this Dunsparce. We live the Rock Slide. Going for that Weather Ball, it is going to be enough to take them out, and we win a game against Dunsparce Double Grass. This would not have been possible if I was still running that Swampert. This next battle is another hard counter match. We get another Dunsparce on the lead. I swap into Diggersby, and my opponent brings out a Quagsire, Shadow Quagsire, and they're going to have a Jumpluff in the back, okay? Watch this. I get an attack drop from the Scorching Sands onto this Quagsire, which means this next Aqua Tail isn't going to do that much damage. I go for another Scorching Sands. We get another attack drop. I'm going to let my Diggersby go here. And now I decide I'm going to bring in my Quagsire because they are double debuffed. I'm going to go for a full farm down on their Quagsire and come out with so much energy for their next Pokemon. I go for a Stone Edge against the Jumpluff that they bring in. We take their final shield, and I'm perfectly okay with bringing in Abomasnow now because I still have 2 shields for my Abomasnow. My opponent has no shields, and I should be able to take them out with an Energy Ball and a Weather Ball. I just want to leave this matchup with a little bit of extra energy. That way I can reach a Weather Ball on the Jumpluff, but I'm able to actually farm them down and have 2 Weather Balls ready for their Jumpluff, and my opponent just goes ahead and top left. That is how strong Diggersby is in this meta, guys. Moving on to the next battle, we're going to be up against an opposing Shadow Abomasnow, and this is where having that high attack is going to come in very handy because we are going to win CMP. And if we win CMP, if my opponent chooses to stay in, which they don't, I was calling that they were going to go for a catch on this Weather Ball, but I didn't really mind if they caught it on something in the back. But if my opponent had chosen to stay in, I would have won lead. Now my opponent brings in a Licky Licky. I'm gonna bring in Diggersby, and it looks like this Licky Licky is not running Solar Beam. Thank goodness, I got Solar Beamed by one earlier, and it was not a fun experience. But I'm able to get the Licky Licky pretty low, and then they swap into Abomasnow. They end up not throwing before I go for the Fire Punch, so I'm able to take their final shield, and then I swap into my Abomasnow, go immediately for that Weather Ball. We take their Abomasnow out. My opponent has no shields left, but unfortunately for me, they're going to be able to farm me down with their final Pokemon, which is going to be that Dunsparce. Okay, their Licky Licky has a move, so I need to watch out for that. And my opponent is going to be able to reach 2 Drill Runs here because they have so much energy, and I choose to shield the Drill Run, the second Drill Run. Okay. They have Shadow Ball on Licky Licky. It's not enough to take us out. I'm able to farm them down, have a Stone Edge ready to go for their Dunsparce. It is going to be enough to take them out, and we're able to take another win there. This next battle is a little bit messy for me. We get a Chestnut on the lead, and then my opponent swaps into an Oranguru. I should point out that I ran into this team, the same team, a couple of times, so I'm thinking this might have been popularized by someone, but I don't know who. Anyways, I swap into my Diggersby, and I let the Trailblaze go. I let the next move go as well. They only build up to a Brutal Swing. And then I go for a Fire Punch, thinking that it might be enough to take them out, but it's not. They survive with 1 HP, and then they bring in a Talonflame. I was switch locked there, so I threw the Fire Punch to stall the switch timer a little bit, and then I bring in my Quagsire, and this is really bad because our switch timers are misaligned. I'm not going to be able to go for a second Aqua Tail on this Talonflame. They are going to be able to swap out into their Chestnut, but lucky for me, well, unlucky and lucky for me, they're running Smackdown on Chestnut, which is not going to be great for my Abomasnow. But at least my 2 ground types are going to be resisting it. I'm not going to be able to reach another Weather Ball on my Abomasnow. They're going to be able to take us out, and then they go for a Superpower against our Diggersby. But they manage to catch the Fire Punch on Oranguru, and at this point it is game over for me. I'm going to bring in the Quagsire anyways and go for an Aqua Tail. Take the Talonflame out, but I'm not going to be able to reach another move for this Chestnut. They're able to go for a full farm down on my Quagsire, have a Frenzy Plant ready for our Diggersby, and we are going to take a loss there. This next match is another one where I'm not happy with how I play. I do end up in my later games changing how I handle Abomasnow leads with Icy Wind. From now on, I do shield their Icy Wind, but here I let it go. Now, even if I'm going to be able to win lead, what I don't realize is I should have shielded my Abomasnow and kept it healthy because it is going to be very good against what they have in the back. They bring in a Quagsire, and I swap immediately into Diggersby because I didn't want to get farmed down. Quagsire with energy is really bad for my backline, so I'm going to be able to land 1 Scorching Sands. Unfortunately, for the next Scorching Sands, we are going to CMP tie. They win CMP. They're going to be able to get their Aqua Tail off first, and I decide to let my Diggersby go. Now I'm going to bring in my own Quagsire, and they are going to be able to reach another Aqua Tail, weakening our Quagsire, and I still have no idea what their final Pokemon is. It's going to be a Shadow Flygon. I'm not going to be able to take care of this, and my opponent is going to be able to Dragon Tail us down and take that win. So unfortunate for me. If I had just kept that Abomasnow healthy, I think I could have been in a good position, but my opponent is going to take the win there. That is going to be a 3-2, and we get a Zamazenta. That's really nice. There is another game that I played today with Abomasnow lead that had Icy Wind, and I shielded my Abomasnow and kept it alive, and I actually ended up sweeping with Abomasnow. It was really good. I don't know if I have that game recorded. We'll see. But anyways, moving on to the next battle, we're going to be up against a Miltank on the lead, and I'm going to stick to that rule that if I lose lead, I have to save swap into my Diggersby, even though this technically isn't the best matchup for Diggersby, especially since Miltank has access to Ice Beam, and that is going to hit for super effective. I think they only need 2 Ice Beams to take us out. We no shield. We end up no shielding a Body Slam, which is pretty good. And of course we need to save swap into that Diggersby because look what we draw out. We draw out a Whimsicott, and guess what? Their third Pokemon is going to be weak to our Quagsire. So it's good that we're getting the Grass type out of the way now. We're able to come in with Abomasnow, go for 1 Powder Snow. It's enough to take that Whimsicott out. And then my opponent brings that Miltank back in. I'm going to go for a Weather Ball here, and they end up shielding it. So I swap immediately into my Quagsire, and look what my opponent has in the back. They have a Shadow Steelix. We are in such a good position because we have 2 shields left. My opponent only has 1 shield. I'm going to go for an Aqua Tail. They let it go, and we're even able to Mudshot their Steelix down and have 2 moves ready for the Miltank. The first one is going to get their final shield, and the second one should come really close to KOing. It doesn't quite take them out, but 1 more Mudshot does the trick, and we take that win. GG's to our opponent. Moving on to the next battle, we're going to be up against a Whimsicott on the lead. This is a good lead for us, but then my opponent swaps into a Girafarig. Okay, before I swap out, I'm going to go for a Weather Ball and take a shield from them, and then I'm going to bring in Diggersby because a Trailblaze is going to be enough to KO our Quagsire, and I don't want to shield yet. So I take the Trailblaze on Diggersby. I'm going to be able to reach that Scorching Sands, and as expected, my opponent double shields their Girafarig. But at this point, if I invest 1 shield, I should be able to reach another move and take them out. Gonna go for a Scorching Sands because I'm not sure if a Fire Punch is enough to take them out. I know that Girafarig is super squishy, but I'm not really sure if I could have taken them out with a Fire Punch there. Anyways, they're going to bring that Whimsicott back in and farm us down completely and have a Moonblast ready for our Abomasnow. So I had to use my final shield there, and then their final Pokemon is going to be Dunsparce. I think we're in a good position here because none of us have shields left, but I should be able to survive 2 drill runs and reach a Stone Edge and an Aqua Tail, which is what I'm going to need to take this out. I'm going to go for that Aqua Tail now, and hopefully my switch timer is up. Yep, it is. I'm going to go for a Weather Ball now against the Whimsicott. It is going to be enough to take that Whimsicott out, and we're going to take that win. This next match is another one that I mess up, but we're going to learn from my mistakes. Up against Abomasnow lead, I absolutely have to shield, because if their Abomasnow stays alive, then it's not going to be good for my backline. Not only do I win CMP tie, but I know that my opponent is running Icy Wind, so I am going to be able to outpace to the Weather Balls. Also, my opponent used their own shield, so I would have been safe returning that shield, but what ends up happening is I let the Icy Wind go. My opponent is able to farm my Abomasnow down and have a ton of energy for my Diggersby, which is terrible for me. They're able to reach an Icy Wind and an Energy Ball, and my Diggersby is now in the yellow. They bring in a Flygon. This is going really bad. If I still had that Abomasnow, I would have been in a much better position. Not only that, if I had a full health Diggersby, I would have been able to take care of what they have in the back, which is going to be that Dunsparce. So ideally, if I kept my Abomasnow alive and I won lead, then my opponent would bring Dunsparce into Abomasnow. I would swap out immediately into my Diggersby and keep that Abomasnow in the back, and then my opponent would have been forced to bring Flygon into a full health Diggersby, and this would have worked out so much better for me. But like I said, I learned from my mistakes, and there is a game that I played later in the day. I don't have that one recorded, but I faced a similar team, and Abomasnow and Diggersby ended up absolutely destroying my opponent. Anyways, we are going to take a loss there. GG's to our opponent. Moving on to the next match, we're going to be up against another Abomasnow on the lead. Now, this is a little bit of a different situation because my opponent is running Weather Ball, so I'm going to no-shield their Weather Ball. They no-shielded my Weather Ball, so I'm not going to invest a shield. I go for that second one, and we actually get a shield from them. And here, I'm okay with letting my Abomasnow go because their Abomasnow is in a range where I can come in and farm them down, and I don't want them to get an energy lead from my Abomasnow, so I let mine go. I come in with Quagsire, go for a full farm down, and my opponent has a Flygon in the back. I'm going to be able to go for 2 Aqua Tails up against this Flygon. The second one is going to take my opponent's final shield, and then I swap into Diggersby. I'm completely fine taking that Dragon Claw, and I'm not quite going to be able to farm them down completely without having to take another Dragon Claw, so I go for a Fire Punch, take them out, and my opponent's final Pokemon is going to be a Shadow Quagsire running Aqua Tail. I was really watching out for a catch there, so I waited. They almost caught on their Abomasnow, but were able to take them out, go for a Scorching Sands, and this is going to get super tight because my opponent is able to reach that Aqua Tail on our Quagsire, take us out, and we're just barely able to live and reach another Scorching Sands to take their Quagsire out, and we take that win. That was super close, but GG's to our opponent. And guys, we have reached the final match of the video. I'm just going to leave you guys here with a battle, and I'm not going to talk over all of it. But long story short, we get destroyed because I invest a shield up against their Miltank, and they have a Talonflame in the back. We all know that Talonflame with 2 shields is going to be very dangerous for Quagsire with 1 shield. So yeah, we end up getting absolutely destroyed. But well played to my opponent, and that is going to bring us to the end of our video. If you guys like my content, please consider subscribing. Maybe leave a like, it helps me out so much. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!